A lone cowboy rides through the desert when he finds an injured Apache woman left for dead. With no water, no help, and no time to think, he makes an impossible choice. He gives her his only horse, knowing it might cost him his own life. But what he doesn't know is that she is not alone. Far away, 70 Apache warriors are already tracking the land, and when they discover what the cowboy did, everything changes in a way no one could have ever expected. The sun was sinking low over the wide desert, painting the sand in deep orange and fading red. The heat still lingered in the air, but the wind had started to rise, carrying dry dust across the empty land. There was no sound except the slow movement of a horse walking through the silence. A cowboy rode alone across this endless stretch. His name was Ethan Cole. He had been traveling for days with no clear destination, only following old trails and memory. The only thing he still had in this world was his horse, Dusty. The animal was old but steady, loyal in a way that felt stronger than words. Ethan kept his eyes on the horizon, but something forced him to slow down. At first, he thought it was a shadow on the ground. Then he saw it was a person lying near a rocky slope. He pulled the reins and stopped. A woman was lying in the sand. She was injured and barely moving. Her breathing was weak and uneven. Dust covered her clothes, and her face showed signs of exhaustion and pain. She was Apache. Ethan looked around carefully. The desert was never empty in truth. Somewhere out there, danger could be close. He noticed tracks around her, many of them, as if she had been running from someone before she collapsed. He dismounted and walked toward her slowly, keeping his hands visible. The woman tried to move when she saw him. Her hand reached toward a small hidden blade, but her strength failed her. Ethan knelt at a distance. He spoke in a calm voice, telling her he was not there to harm her. She did not answer, but her eyes stayed fixed on him, full of doubt and pain. He checked the horizon again. No help was coming. If she stayed here, she would not survive the night. Ethan turned back toward Dusty, standing quietly behind him. The horse shifted its weight, sensing something was about to change. The desert wind grew stronger as Ethan made a choice that would not be easy to take back. The Apache woman lay still, watching Ethan as he moved back toward his horse. Her breathing was shallow, and every small movement seemed to cost her strength. She did not fully trust him, but she also understood something simple. If he left, she would not live long enough to question his intentions. Ethan untied the canteen from his saddle and walked back toward her. He knelt down and offered her water first. She hesitated, then took only a small sip. Her hand trembled as she pushed it back toward him, as if she did not want to accept too much from a stranger. Then Ethan stood and looked at Dusty. The horse stood calmly, watching him with quiet patience. Years of travel and survival had built a bond between them that did not need words. Ethan placed his hand on the saddle. For a moment, he said nothing. The wind moved through the dry grass, and the silence felt heavy. Then he began to remove the saddle. The woman noticed and tried to lift herself slightly. Her voice was weak but firm. "You cannot stay here without him," she said. Ethan did not stop what he was doing. "I can," he replied. "You cannot." He tightened the reins and led Dusty closer to her. The horse lowered its head slightly, as if sensing the seriousness of the moment. Ethan helped her sit up and then guided her onto the saddle. She winced in pain but held on. Before she left, she looked down at him with uncertainty. "Why would you risk yourself for me?" she asked. Ethan stepped back, giving Dusty a light tap so the horse would move forward when ready. "Because leaving you here is worse than anything else I have to face," he said. The woman hesitated one last time, then slowly took the reins. Dusty began to walk forward into the desert, carrying her away from the place she had fallen. Ethan stood alone as the sound of hooves faded into the distance. Ethan stood still as the sound of Dusty's hooves slowly disappeared into the open desert. The land around him felt even larger now, as if the space had expanded the moment he was left alone. There was no shelter nearby, no sign of help, and no clear direction to follow. He exhaled and looked toward the path the woman had taken. The tracks were already starting to soften in the wind. Then he noticed something that made him pause. Far away on a high ridge, shapes were moving. At first, he thought it might be animals shifting in the heat haze. But the movement was too organized, too steady. Riders were gathering there, watching the valley below. Ethan slowly stepped back toward a small rise of rock, keeping himself low. He did not know who they were, but the number of them was enough to make his chest tighten. Many riders in formation never meant something simple. On the ridge, the Apache warriors had been watching for a long time. They had seen the woman fall. They had tracked the land carefully, waiting for the moment she could be recovered. And then they saw something unexpected. A stranger giving his horse. There was silence among them as they observed Ethan standing alone after the exchange. Some believed it was deception. Others were uncertain. In their world, nothing was given without cost, and nothing was trusted without reason. A young warrior spoke first, saying the cowboy should be taken immediately. Another suggested he might be working with those who had attacked their people. But one older warrior, Kaito, kept his eyes fixed on Ethan. He had seen enough in his life to know when something did not fit the usual pattern of war or survival. He raised his hand slightly, asking for silence. The group waited. Down below, Ethan remained unaware of the full number watching him, only sensing that the air itself had changed. Kaito finally spoke in a low voice. "Do not move yet," he said. "Let us understand what we are seeing." Ethan noticed the sound before he saw them. It began as a distant rhythm, like rolling thunder across the desert floor. Then it grew sharper, closer, until the ground itself seemed to carry the weight of approaching horses. He turned slowly. From both sides of the valley, riders appeared. Dozens at first, then more, until the movement became overwhelming. They came down from the ridge in silence, surrounding the open land where Ethan stood. He did not reach for any weapon. There was nothing to reach for anyway. Within moments, he was enclosed. 70 Apache warriors formed a wide circle around him. Their presence was steady and controlled, not rushed or chaotic. Each rider held position with discipline, watching him carefully. Ethan stood still in the center, dust moving around his boots. One rider stepped forward and dismounted. He walked closer than the rest. His name was Kaito. His eyes studied Ethan without blinking. "You are the one who gave your horse," Kaito said. Ethan did not move. "Yes." A few warriors shifted in their saddles. The tension was sharp, but no one spoke. Kaito looked back at the circle, then returned his gaze to Ethan. "You know what it means to be alone in this land," he said. Ethan answered quietly. "Yes." Kaito took another step forward. "And still you gave away your only chance to leave it." Ethan said nothing to defend himself. He simply stood there, accepting the weight of the moment. A long silence followed. Then Kaito raised his hand slightly. The warriors did not lower their weapons, but their posture changed. Less immediate, less sharp. Kaito studied Ethan again, as if searching for a hidden truth. "Tell me," he said, "why would a man do this for someone he does not know?" Ethan looked at him directly now. "Because she was dying," he said. "And I was not." The silence that followed Ethan's words felt heavier than the desert itself. 70 warriors remained in place, watching every small movement he made. No one lowered their guard completely, but something had shifted in the way they looked at him. Kaito studied Ethan for a long moment. The wind moved between them, carrying dust across the open ground. Before anyone could speak again, another rider approached from behind the circle. He carried something carefully. It was Dusty. The horse walked slowly into view, unharmed, with the Apache woman now recovered enough to sit upright in the saddle. She looked weak, but alive. Ethan's expression changed for the first time. Relief replaced tension. The woman looked at Kaito and then at the warriors around her. "He did not take anything," she said. "He gave everything." Murmurs moved through the group. Kaito finally turned to Ethan again. "You acted without asking for reward," he said. Ethan replied simply, "I did what I could." Kaito nodded once, slowly. Then he stepped back and raised his hand. The circle did not vanish, but the pressure inside it eased. "You may leave," Kaito said. Ethan walked forward and took Dusty's reins. The horse lowered its head as if nothing had ever been lost. As he mounted, he looked once more at the warriors. None of them stopped him. And as he rode away, the desert felt different, as if something in it had quietly changed. The desert returned to silence as Ethan rode away, but what happened that day stayed behind in the minds of those who witnessed it. A single choice, made without expectation, changed the way strangers saw each other in a land where trust was rare and survival came first. Sometimes, one act of mercy is enough to shift everything that follows. If this story moved you, like the video, subscribe for more emotional stories, and share your thoughts in the comments.